What will you say when your children ask what you did during the great struggle of your time? Not the struggle against an enemy across the ocean, but the struggle within yourself, between comfort and courage, between drift and direction, between the easy path and the right path. History is not made by those who wait for permission or for perfect conditions. It is made by those who understand that the future is not a gift to be received, but a responsibility to be seized. Today, this very hour, you stand at a crossroads, and I tell you plainly, your future depends entirely on what you do today, not tomorrow, today. You watch the world changing around you, and you feel powerless to influence its direction. You see problems in your community, in your nation, in your own life, and you tell yourself that one person cannot make a difference. You postpone decisions, delay commitments, and rationalize inaction with the comfortable lie that tomorrow will bring better circumstances. Meanwhile, your potential remains dormant. Your talents lie unused, and the future you claim to want drifts further from reach. I do not speak to you as one who has lived without struggle. I have faced failure and setback. I have wrestled with illness that would have justified surrender. I have commanded men in battle where one wrong decision meant death. I have navigated the most dangerous waters of international crisis, where the fate of millions hung upon choices made in moments. And from all of this, I have learned one irreducible truth. The future belongs to those who act today. There are two kinds of people in this world. The first waits for conditions to be perfect before acting. They study problems endlessly without solving them. They speak of ideals without sacrifice. They consume their lives in preparation and die without ever having truly begun. The second kind recognizes that no condition is ever perfect, that waiting is a form of choosing, that postponement is itself a decision, usually the wrong one. They understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. You have been told that prudence requires patience, that wisdom means careful deliberation, that responsibility demands you wait until you have all the facts. These are half-truths that lead to full paralysis. Yes, recklessness is dangerous, but timidity is equally destructive. The man who will not act until he is certain of success will never act at all, for certainty is not granted to mortals. What is granted to us is this present moment and the obligation to use it well. In this conversation, I will show you how action today, sustained over time through discipline and conviction, compounds into a future of significance. You will learn not abstract principles, but practical truths forged in real struggle. You will discover that the capacity for heroic action lives within ordinary people who make extraordinary choices. And you will understand that your future, the future of your family, your community, your nation, truly does depend on what you do today. I believe in you. Not in some vague political way, but genuinely, I believe you possess capabilities you have never tested, courage you have never needed to summon, and potential you have never fully realized. I believe that within you lies the power to shape not only your own destiny, but to influence the destiny of countless others. This is not flattery. It is recognition of a fundamental truth, that human beings are capable of greatness when they choose to act with purpose. And I am here to call forth that greatness. Let me take you back to the 2nd of August 1943, in the dark waters near the Solomon Islands. PT 109 was patrolling when suddenly, out of the darkness, came the Japanese destroyer Amagiri. The impact was catastrophic. Our boat split in two. Men were thrown into the sea. Fire spread across the water. In that moment, every instinct screamed for self-preservation. But I was the commander. 11 men looked to me for decision. I could see McMahon, badly burned, struggling in the water 200 yards away. I could have told myself he was too far, too wounded. that saving him would risk my own life for someone who might not survive anyway. Instead, I swam to him, took his life jacket strap in my teeth, and towed him for 5 hours through enemy waters to a small island. Why? Not because I was certain we would survive, not because I knew rescue would come, but because inaction in that moment would have meant certain death for him, and death for something in me far more important than my physical body. It would have killed the man I needed to be. The lesson here is simple but profound. Action in crisis reveals character, but action before crisis builds it. Had I spent my life postponing difficult choices, I would not have had the strength to make that swim. The courage you need tomorrow must be cultivated today, in small acts of discipline, small victories over comfort, small choices to do what is right rather than what is easy. You see, most people think of courage as something you either have or you do not have, like the color of your eyes or the shape of your face. But this is false. Courage is built. It is built through practice. It is built through repetition. It is built by choosing brave action so many times that it becomes your natural response to challenge. Every time you have a difficult conversation, instead of avoiding it, you build courage. Every time you take a risk instead of seeking safety, you build courage. Every time you stand for principle when conformity would be easier, you build courage. I did not tow McMahon through those waters because I am naturally braver than you. I did it because I had practiced courage in smaller ways for years before that night. I had faced fear in training. I had made difficult choices when easier options were available. I had built the habit of acting despite uncertainty. And when the crisis came, when everything depended on my ability to act courageously, the habit I had built carried me through. This is what I mean when I say your future depends on what you do today. The man you will be in your moment of crisis is being built right now, in this present moment, through the choices you make when no one is watching, when the stakes seem small, when postponement would be easy. You are either building strength or building weakness. You are either practicing courage or practicing cowardice. There is no neutral ground. Now let me tell you about a different kind of failure. One that haunts me still because it could so easily happen here in this nation we love. When I was a young man, I studied why Great Britain, the most powerful empire on earth, failed to prepare for the Nazi threat while there was still time. What I discovered should haunt every American. It was not that British leaders lacked intelligence. It was not that they failed to see the danger. Churchill warned them. Eden warned them. The signs were unmistakable. They failed because they postponed action. Each year they told themselves, next year we will begin serious rearmament. Each month they rationalized, we must not alarm the public. Each day they chose comfort over preparedness. And Germany, meanwhile, worked with ruthless efficiency toward her goals. When finally England awoke, she found herself 2 years behind, a gap that no amount of desperate effort could close in time. I watched British citizens queue for gas masks in 1938, terrified of war they could have prevented had they acted in 1933. I saw men called up who should have been training for years. I witnessed a great nation pay in blood and fire for time they had wasted in comfort, and I vowed that I would never let my own life follow that pattern, that I would never look back and say, if only I had acted when I had the chance. This is not ancient history. This is a mirror held up to every life. How many of us postpone the hard conversations, delay the necessary changes, avoid the difficult work, all while saying, I'll start tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and the circumstances have changed, and the opportunity has passed, and we pay a price we could have avoided had we only acted today. The British people were not cowards. They were not fools. They were good people who made one fatal error. They confused the desire for peace with the reality of peace. They wanted so desperately to avoid war that they refused to prepare for it. They told themselves that if they simply ignored the threat, if they simply refused to think about unpleasant possibilities, then somehow those possibilities would not materialize. But nature, both human and political, does not accommodate such magical thinking. Wishing does not make it so. Hoping does not ensure safety. Only action, taken in time, can prevent catastrophe. And here is what troubles me most about that story. It was not that the British lacked the resources to prepare. They had the money, the industry, the talent. It was not that they lacked the knowledge. The facts were clear to anyone willing to see them. They lacked only the will to act. They chose comfort over security. They chose illusion over reality. They chose tomorrow over today. And by the time today arrived, it was too late. I see this pattern everywhere I look, not just in nations, but in individual lives. The man who knows he should change careers but waits for the right time. The woman who knows she should end a destructive relationship but hopes it will somehow improve on its own. The citizen who knows his community needs his service but tells himself he is too busy. The parent who knows she should have an important conversation with her child but postpones it until they are ready. In every case, the postponement feels reasonable in the moment, but over time, these small postponements compound into life-shaping failures. Let me tell you another story, one that shows the opposite principle at work. My great-grandfather, Patrick Kennedy, stood on the docks of Ireland in 1849, staring at a ship that would carry him away from everything he knew. He was young, poor, uneducated. He could have stayed. No one would have blamed him. Life in Boston would be hard, harder than anything he had known in County Wexford. He would work as a cooper, earning barely enough to survive. He would face prejudice, hardship, disease, but he looked at that ship and he understood something that I want you to understand. The future is not given. It is taken. It is seized by those willing to pay the price of change. He could not guarantee success. He could not eliminate risk, but he could act, and so he did. He boarded that ship, crossed an ocean, and built a new life in a new land. Because of his choice, because of his willingness to act despite uncertainty, his great-grandson would one day stand as President of the United States. But it began with one man on one day making one choice. Not a perfect choice, not a safe choice, but an active choice. He did not wait for permission. He did not wait for certainty. He acted. This is the story of America itself. Every advance we have made, every frontier we have crossed, every injustice we have corrected, all of it began with individuals who refused to accept the world as it was and acted to make it what it should be. Not someday, today. The men who signed the Declaration of Independence did not wait for perfect conditions. They acted despite enormous risk. The slaves who escaped to freedom did not wait for slavery to end on its own. They acted often at the cost of their lives. The suffragettes who fought for women's right to vote did not wait for men to grant them equality. They acted, they marched, they endured ridicule and violence until they achieved their goal. Every good thing you enjoy today exists because someone before you refused to wait, refused to postpone, refused to accept conditions as they were. They acted, and their action, sustained over time, changed the world. Now I ask you, what will you change? What will you build? What will you contribute? Or will you be among those who watch history happen while never making it, who consume the fruits of others' labor while planting nothing themselves, who arrive at the end of life wondering why they never became who they could have been? I will never forget sitting in that room during the Cuban Missile Crisis, knowing that my next decision might mean war. Every advisor had an opinion. Every option carried terrible risk. I could delay, call more meetings, seek more intelligence, but delay was itself a decision, and potentially the most dangerous one. The missiles were being assembled even as we deliberated. Every hour of hesitation brought us closer to the point of no return. I learned in that crucible what I had only understood intellectually before. Leadership is not about having perfect information. It is about acting with imperfect information but perfect conviction that inaction is not an option. It is about accepting that you will be criticized no matter what you choose, but that the criticism for acting bravely is more honorable than the criticism for acting timidly. In the end, we acted, not recklessly, but decisively. And because we did, the world survived. Had we waited, sought consensus, postponed difficult choices, I do not believe we would have achieved the same result. The burden you carry may not be nuclear war, but within your sphere of influence, you face similar choices: to act or to wait, to lead or to follow, to risk criticism for decisive action or to seek safety in endless deliberation. Choose action. Now let me translate these stories into principles you can apply immediately. The first principle is this: what you do today seems small, but it compounds over time into a future that would be unrecognizable to your present self. The immigrant who studies English for 30 minutes each evening will, in 5 years, speak the language fluently and open opportunities unavailable to him today. The citizen who attends one community meeting each month will, over years, build relationships and influence that can transform a neighborhood. The man who saves $5 each day will, through discipline and time, build security for his family. But the principle works in reverse as well. The worker who wastes 1 hour each day in pointless distraction will lose 365 hours each year, the equivalent of 9 full work weeks thrown away. The citizen who never votes, never volunteers, never engages, will arrive at old age having contributed nothing and wondering why his community deteriorated. The man who postpones difficult conversations with his children will one day find he has become a stranger in his own home. You see, the future is not one dramatic moment where everything is decided. It is the accumulation of thousands of small moments, each of which bends the trajectory of your life slightly toward one destiny or another. You cannot see the compound effect in the moment, but over years, the difference between the person who acts and the person who postpones becomes vast. Think of it like this. Imagine 2 men standing at the same starting point. One man walks north at a steady pace. The other man walks northeast, just a few degrees off course. At first, the difference is barely visible. After 100 feet, they are only a few feet apart. After 1 mile, they are still in sight of each other. But after 100 miles, they are in completely different places, unable even to see each other on the horizon. The small difference in direction, maintained over time, creates an enormous difference in destination. This is why I say your future depends on what you do today. Not because today is magical, but because today is real, and tomorrow is only a promissory note that may never be honored. The direction you choose today, the actions you take today, the habits you build today, these determine where you will arrive years from now. You cannot change your destination without first changing your direction, and you cannot change your direction tomorrow. You can only change it today. Let me speak plainly about a danger that threatens our republic. The belief that democracy is self-sustaining, that freedom perpetuates itself without effort, that our system of government will endure simply because it has endured thus far. This is a fatal delusion. Democracy is not a machine that runs by itself. It is a living thing that requires constant nourishment from the participation of its citizens. When citizens withdraw from civic life, when they leave governance to others, when they decide their individual voice does not matter, democracy withers. Not immediately, not visibly at first, but steadily, year by year, the vital forces that sustain free society drain away until one day the structure collapses and people wonder how it happened. I have seen nations lose their freedom, not through sudden conquest, but through gradual surrender. The citizens grew comfortable. They pursued private interests and ignored public duty. They told themselves that politics was someone else's concern, and by the time they realized what they had lost, it was too late to recover it. Your vote matters. Your voice matters. Your participation in the life of your community matters. Not because any one election determines everything, but because a nation of citizens who do not vote becomes a nation governed not by the people, but by the organized few who do participate. Not because your single voice will be heard above all others, but because a chorus is built one voice at a time. And silence is a kind of choice, usually the wrong one. If you believe in the American experiment, if you cherish the freedoms you enjoy, if you hope to pass something valuable to your children, then you must participate, you must vote, you must serve, you must engage. Democracy demands it. Your future depends on it. And I do not mean some distant, abstract future. I mean the future that begins tomorrow morning when you wake up. The community you live in, the laws that govern you, the opportunities available to you, all of these are shaped by civic decisions. And civic decisions are made either with your participation or without it. But they are made regardless. So you can choose to participate and have some influence over the direction of your community and your nation, or you can choose to abstain and accept whatever direction others choose for you. But understand that abstention is not neutrality. It is surrender. It is a decision to let others determine your future. And having made that decision, you forfeit the right to complain about the results. Now let me tell you a difficult truth. Nothing of lasting value is built without sacrifice. The man who wants the reward without the effort, the achievement without the struggle, the victory without the risk, this man wants what cannot exist. He wants the fruit without tending the orchard. He wants the harvest without planting seeds. And nature, both human and physical, does not accommodate such wishes. Look at every great accomplishment in human history. The founding of this nation required men to pledge their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor, and many lost all three. The preservation of the Union required a president to carry the burden of civil war and ultimately give his life. The victory over fascism required an entire generation to postpone their dreams and risk everything for freedom. None of this came easily. None of this came without cost. But here is the beautiful paradox. Those who made such sacrifices found their lives enriched by the giving. The man who serves a cause larger than himself discovers a satisfaction that pleasure-seeking can never provide. The woman who sacrifices her comfort for her children's future finds a joy that self-indulgence never brings. The citizen who gives time and energy to improving his community builds friendships and meaning that no amount of personal consumption can match. Sacrifice does not diminish life, it enlarges it. But you must choose it willingly. You must understand that the easy path leads to an empty destination, while the difficult path leads to a life of significance. I am not asking you to suffer needlessly. I am not glorifying hardship for its own sake. I am simply telling you the truth. Everything worth having costs something. The only question is whether you are willing to pay the price. And let me be clear about what sacrifice means. It does not mean martyrdom. It does not mean destroying yourself for others. It means choosing the important over the urgent, the meaningful over the comfortable, the lasting over the temporary. It means saying no to good things so you can say yes to better things. It means investing today for a return tomorrow, even when today's investment is painful. The parent who wakes early to prepare breakfast for their children before school is sacrificing sleep for connection. The worker who takes night classes to improve their skills is sacrificing leisure for advancement. The citizen who serves on a community board is sacrificing free time for civic improvement. These are not grand gestures. They are small, daily choices. But accumulated over years, they compound into a life of substance and significance. Many believe that courage is something you either have or lack, a trait you are born with or without. This is false. Courage is a habit. built through practice in small moments, until it becomes your natural response to challenge. Consider the soldier in battle. He is not braver than you by nature, but he has practiced courage in training until it became instinctive. He has faced fear in controlled situations until fear no longer controlled him. When crisis comes, he acts not because he feels no fear, but because he has trained himself to act despite it. You can build this same habit. Each time you choose the difficult over the easy, you strengthen your capacity for courage. Each time you speak truth when silence would be safer, you practice bravery. Each time you stand for principle despite social pressure, you train yourself for greater battles ahead. Start with small acts. Have the difficult conversation you have been avoiding. Admit the mistake you have been concealing. Take the risk you have been rationalizing away. These seem insignificant, but they are not. They are training exercises for your character. They prepare you for the moments when everything depends on your ability to act courageously. I remember speaking with a young man once who told me he wished he could be brave like the soldiers he admired. I asked him what brave action he had taken that day. He looked confused. He said he had not faced any situation requiring bravery. I pointed out that he had told me earlier he needed to apologize to his father for something but had not done so because it would be uncomfortable. That, I told him, was his opportunity for courage. Not fighting a war, not facing physical danger, simply having a difficult conversation. He laughed and said that was not real courage. I told him he was wrong. Real courage is acting despite fear in whatever situation you find yourself. The magnitude of the situation does not determine whether courage is required. Your willingness to act despite discomfort determines whether courage is present. If you will not practice courage in small things, you will not have it available for large things. The future belongs to the courageous, not to those born brave, but to those who choose brave action so consistently that it becomes their nature, and courage is available to anyone willing to practice it. You do not need special permission. You do not need exceptional circumstances. You simply need to identify what you are afraid to do, but know you should do, and then do it. Today, right now, without further delay. Let me share with you a truth that transformed my understanding of life. You do not possess the past, and you do not possess the future. You possess only this present moment. The past is memory, valuable for learning, useless for living in. The future is possibility, worth planning for, impossible to inhabit. Only the present is real. Only now exists. Yet most people spend their lives mentally residing everywhere except the present. They replay past failures, rehearse old grievances, wish they could reclaim lost opportunities. Or they project themselves into an imagined future, waiting for circumstances to improve before they begin really living. Meanwhile, the only time they actually have, this moment, slips away unused. This is why I insist that your future depends on what you do today. Not because I believe in slogans, but because I understand that today is the only day you will ever have. Tomorrow, when it arrives, will be another today. The question is not what you will do tomorrow. The question is what you are doing now, in this present moment, which is the only moment you can actually act within. If you want a different future, you must make different choices today. If you want your life to change, you must change what you are doing right now. This is not motivational speaking. This is simply how time works. The future is not separate from the present. It is the inevitable result of what you do in the present, accumulated over time. Stop postponing. Stop waiting. Stop planning for someday. Act today. Begin now. Use this moment, which is your only real possession. I cannot count the number of people I have met who tell me about the book they will write someday, the business they will start someday, the relationship they will repair someday, the life they will live someday. And I always think the same thing. Someday is not a day of the week. Someday never comes. There is only today, and what you choose to do with it. Now we move from principle to practice. I have shared stories and lessons, but knowledge without application is useless. You must translate these ideas into action, or our time together means nothing. Here is how you begin. Each evening before sleep, spend 10 minutes reviewing the day. Ask yourself 3 questions. First, what opportunities for action did I seize today? Be specific. Did you have the difficult conversation, make the hard phone call, do the work you have been postponing? Write it down. Acknowledge it. This reinforces positive behavior. Do not skip this step. You need to see the evidence of your own agency, the proof that you are capable of choosing action over inaction. Second, what opportunities for action did I postpone? Again, be specific and honest. What did you avoid? What did you rationalize away? What did you tell yourself you would do tomorrow? Write this down as well. Not to punish yourself, but to see the pattern clearly. You cannot change what you will not acknowledge. You cannot improve what you refuse to measure. Third, what will I do tomorrow that I failed to do today? Choose one specific action, not 10, not 5, just one that you commit to completing tomorrow. Make it concrete. Make it measurable. Make it non-negotiable. Not, I will be more productive, but I will complete the report by noon. Not, I will improve my relationship, but I will call my father and apologize. Specificity is essential. Vague intention produce vague results. This simple practice, done daily, will transform your life within months. It creates accountability. It builds the habit of action. It prevents you from drifting through days without purpose or progress. 10 minutes each evening. No excuses. You have 10 minutes. I know you have 10 minutes because everyone has 10 minutes. What you lack is not time, but priority. And if building a meaningful future is not a priority, then I cannot help you. But if it is a priority, then find 10 minutes. Democracy requires participation, but participation requires structure. Therefore, commit to 1 hour each week. Just 1 hour spent in service to your community. This could mean attending a town council meeting, volunteering at a local school, writing to your elected representatives about issues that matter, helping a neighbor in need, coaching youth sports, serving at a food bank, cleaning up a public park. The specific activity matters less than the consistency. 1 hour every week, without fail, dedicated to something larger than your personal interests. This accomplishes 3 things. It connects you to your community and reminds you that your life is woven into a larger fabric. It gives you practical experience in civic action, turning abstract ideals into concrete reality. It compounds over time into real influence and meaningful contribution. Many will say they are too busy. They are not too busy. They have simply chosen to prioritize other things. If you can find time to watch television, you can find 1 hour per week for civic duty. If you can find time to scroll through social media, you can find 1 hour per week to improve your community. The time exists. The question is whether you will use it for consumption or for contribution. And let me tell you what will happen when you do this. At first, you will feel like your contribution is small, perhaps even meaningless. You will attend a meeting where nothing seems to be accomplished. You will volunteer at an event where your individual effort seems invisible among many. You will write a letter that may never be read, and you will be tempted to quit, to decide it does not matter, to return to the comfort of private life. Do not quit. Keep going, because what you do not see in the moment is the compound effect over time. After 6 months, you will know people you did not know before. After a year, you will have relationships and influence you could not have imagined. After 5 years, you will be one of the established members of your community, someone whose voice carries weight, someone who shapes outcomes. But only if you persist, only if you choose 1 hour every week and protect that hour as sacred. Each morning, before the day begins, identify one thing you are afraid to do but know you should do. It might be small, making a phone call you have been dreading, apologizing for a mistake, asking for help, confronting a problem. Or it might be larger, applying for a better job, starting the project you have discussed for years, ending a relationship that no longer serves either person well. Then, and this is the crucial part, do that thing first, before anything else, before checking email, before reading news, before any other task. Do the thing you fear. Complete it. Get it done. This practice builds your capacity for courage more effectively than any other. Why? Because you prove to yourself daily that you can act despite fear. You train yourself to move toward difficulty rather than away from it, and you experience the relief and satisfaction that comes from facing what you have been avoiding. Will it be uncomfortable? Yes, that is the point. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Ease is the enemy of achievement. You must deliberately choose discomfort if you want to expand your capacity. 5 minutes of courage each morning will compound into a year of transformation. 5 years of this practice will make you unrecognizable to your current self. And here is what most people do not understand. Courage gets easier with practice. The first difficult conversation is terrifying. The 10th is merely uncomfortable. The 100th is routine. Fear does not disappear, but your relationship with fear changes. It stops controlling you. It becomes information rather than instruction. You feel the fear, acknowledge it, and act anyway. This is the definition of courage. Not the absence of fear, but action despite it. Once per month, schedule 1 hour for serious reflection. Not casual thinking, but structured analysis. Bring your daily audit records, review the patterns, ask yourself 3 questions. What am I accomplishing? Look at the evidence of the past 30 days. What have you actually done? Not what did you intend to do? Are you making progress toward goals that matter? Or are you busy with activities that produce no lasting value? Where am I drifting? Identify areas where postponement has become a pattern. Where have you made the same excuses repeatedly? Where have you promised yourself action but delivered none? These are the danger zones that require immediate attention. Do not lie to yourself. Do not make excuses. Look at the evidence and see clearly where you are failing. What must change? Based on your honest assessment, what 1 or 2 specific changes would create the most significant improvement? Do not try to fix everything at once. Choose the changes that will have the greatest impact and commit to them for the next 30 days. Then, in 30 days, assess again and adjust. This is how real change happens. Not through dramatic transformation, but through steady, measured improvement over time. This monthly practice prevents you from drifting through years without noticing. It forces honesty, it creates accountability to your own standards, and it ensures that your daily actions align with your larger purposes. Most people live their entire lives on autopilot, reacting to circumstances rather than shaping them. These 4 practices, daily, weekly, and monthly, create a structure that transforms you from passive to active, from drifting to directed. This is how you ensure that your future depends on what you do today, rather than on circumstances beyond your control. And so we reach the end of our time together. But this is not an ending, it is a beginning. The beginning of what depends entirely on you. I have shared with you stories of crisis and decision. I have outlined lessons learned through struggle and sacrifice. I have given you practical methods to translate understanding into action, but all of this means nothing if you leave this moment unchanged. Ideas without application are entertainment, not education. Knowledge without action is decoration, not development. You now stand exactly where I stood in the waters near the Solomon Islands, where my great-grandfather stood on the Irish docks, where every person stands who understands that the future is not fixed but fluid, not predetermined but responsive to human will. You can act, or you can wait. You can lead, or you can follow. You can build, or you can drift. But understand, inaction is not neutral. Postponement is not harmless. Every day you delay is a day you cannot reclaim. Every opportunity you bypass is a road that closes behind you. The future you say you want will not arrive by wishing. It will arrive only through the accumulation of actions you take today, tomorrow, and every day thereafter. I believe in the capacity of human beings to choose noble action over comfortable inaction. I believe in your ability to build a life of significance rather than settling for a life of comfortable insignificance. I believe that you can become more than you are, not through luck or circumstance, but through disciplined action sustained over time. But my belief in you is worthless unless you believe in yourself, and you prove that belief not through words but through deeds, not through promises but through performance, not through good intentions but through good actions. So here is my challenge. When you finish listening to these words, do not merely feel inspired. Inspiration without action is opium for the conscience. Instead, choose one thing, just one, that you have been postponing, and do it today. Make the call. Have the conversation. Begin the project. Take the risk. Act, and then do it again tomorrow. And the day after. Build a habit. Prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you have been settling for. Create the future you claim to want through the actions you take today. The torch has been passed to your generation. Will you carry it forward or let it fall? Will you act or will you wait? Will you build or will you drift? Your future depends on what you do today. Now go and do it. If these words resonated with you, help me reach others who need to hear them by subscribing to this channel for more conversations that challenge and inspire. Like this video if it sparks something within you. And share in the comments, what is the one action you have been postponing that you will commit to doing today? Let us build a community of citizens who act rather than wait, who lead rather than follow, who shape the future rather than surrendering to it. The work continues. Your contribution matters. Let us go forward together.